like I just mentioned, there's going to be a few of you out there who really want to get into making music and you're really excited about having Ableton Live, but you might not have the skills quite yet to finger drum stuff in or program stuff in because you just aren't that experienced at making music yet. But don't worry, we have some options for you too until you get good at this other stuff. And by that I mean you can start using loops just to get into using the session mode view and arranging loops and playing them together and creating more of a collage, so to speak. You know, for those of you that don't know what a collage is, you know, you might go into a magazine and cut out a bunch of pictures. You know, maybe you take 20 or 30 pictures that you cut out and then you take a blank piece of paper and then you slice stuff up and just stick them on. So you're not actually creating your own images, you're using other people's images, but you're then taking them and creating something of your own out of them. And using loops is akin to that type of art making. So let's go and take a look at the different loops that we have. If we go into packs, let's maybe go into Beat Tools. I like this particular pack. Now here again, you're going to find there are two different types of loops that we can find. We can find audio loops and MIDI loops, and they both work differently and both have their pros and cons. So let's take a look at audio loops first. So if we go into Beat Tools and let's go to Samples and let's go to Loops. And maybe let's take a drum loop and we're at 80 BPM right now and this is sorted by BPM. So let's go in to this one because this is in the BPM that we're looking. And I'm going to push play on the verse beat. Going to switch on the preview and let's listen to some of these audio loops. That's cool. I like this. I'm basically just trying to find something that isn't too produced already. That's more like it. I think I'm just going to take this percussion conga pattern right here because the other ones are already just too full and will make our track just crazily overproduced. So let me just take that and put it here. And now you can see we have an audio waveform. We haven't actually worked with audio waveforms yet, but we will towards the end of this module. So don't worry about how this works quite yet. Just know that if I push play here, it'll work the same as with the other MIDI loops. And I'm just going to take the volume fader and turn it down so it's more of a background loop. So yeah, like I said, this is a good way of just going through all of the loops that you have depending on what version of Ableton Live you have. You might also have your own loops from third parties, and you can just drag them in as we have been doing here with the MIDI loops into these slots like this. And yeah, just push play and it will play back and loop. And then you can just juxtapose different loops with one another and create your own scenes, your intro, your verse, your chorus, just doing it that way. So like I said, this is an audio loop, but we also have MIDI loops. So let's go in and find something with MIDI loops. So go to MIDI clips here. And yeah, let's stay in this 80 BPM thing. Let's push preview. Oh, this, you can tell this is just already full of a beat and keyboards. That's not what we want right now. So I'm just going to go through this real quick. Yeah, that's just too much. Actually, what I'll do is I'm just going to drag one in right now, which I'll delete just to show you what I mean by the difference. So as you can see here with the audio loop, we have an audio waveform that represents this loop, and that's it. But if we go and drag a MIDI clip over and just put it on here, there's a huge difference. As you can see now, it's opened up this clip. And what's actually happening is, if we click on this, you'll see we have what's known as a drum rack, which is similar to the impulse. We have these different cells that we can play. And we have this MIDI clip that is playing back or triggering the sounds in this drum rack. So if I just push play real quick, let me stop all the other tracks. So here you can see we have all of these sounds in the drum rack on this piano roll right here, and they're just being triggered. Now, the cool thing about MIDI loops that I find is an advantage over audio loops is you can actually go in here now and start shifting stuff around and changing things up. So let me just show you real quick. So here you can see, let's take this hi-hat sound for a moment. It comes in on the and I believe they are 30-second notes. That boom, digga digga bat. So maybe I want to have 30-second notes throughout beat one. So I could just go in and draw them in. And now listen back. Or I could just have them all the way through. So yeah, that's the advantage you have when you're working with MIDI loops, is you can just use them as a starting point and then adjust them and turn them into something that really is your own. Whereas when you're working with audio loops, of course, if you are really good at sampling and stuff, you can take that and make something your own as well. But if you're just taking someone else's audio loop and just pushing play and taking another audio loop by someone else, like I said, that's more akin to creating a collage with other people's artwork and just trying to make your own thing out of it. Whereas if you take MIDI loops, you can completely recreate them by adjusting which notes are being played at any given time. And obviously also you can go in, like we haven't really worked with drum racks yet, but we will later. You can go in and change these sounds. So for instance, I can go in and say this snare needs to go up and just transpose it. I transposed the wrong thing. Hold on. Here we go. Yeah, so like I said, for those of you that are still not quite comfortable working on your own material right now, that's not a problem at all. Just go in and find different loops that you either have within Ableton itself, or go online and see. You'll probably find people giving away loops for free if you sign up for something, and just take all of these loops and go through them and just start playing around with them. And that way you'll also firstly get to know Ableton Live a lot better. And second of all, especially if you work with MIDI loops, it'll still give you a bit of freedom to create something of your own out of it. So yeah, just the challenge for this lesson is to find some MIDI loops or audio loops that you like and just place them in and start working with them. And in the next lesson, we're going to be taking a look at creating some other parts using a controller. In my case, it's going to be an Ableton PUSH, but you might have another controller like a MIDI keyboard or a Launchpad or something like that. It doesn't really matter. It's all about using a controller to input our ideas into Ableton. I'll see you in the next lesson.